Welcome to PreVetted podcast, a blend of tech and leadership. Today's guest is Alessandro Chesser. He's a founder and CEO of Dynasty, a startup that makes it easy for anyone to set up a Nevada trust. Hi, Alessandro. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. I want to talk a little bit about how you founded a Dynasty. What personal insight or market gap led you to create Dynasty? Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so, my last company was, I was the first sales hire for a company called Carta. It was a big startup company now, a couple thousand employees. But I was the first sales hire, and then I ended up becoming VP of sales, and I ran sales for about 8 years over there, taking the company from zero annual recurring revenue to over 300 million annual recurring revenue. And during that time, I made good money. I got a lot of stock in the company. And I got married and I had a couple kids, and I decided that I needed trust. And I went down through the process with an attorney to create a trust, and they sent me a bunch of paperwork. And I was like, there has to be a better way. That's all we did at Carta was we digitized legal documents. And so I was like, here's another legal document that needs to be digitized.
Right. Interesting. And what challenges did you face while building Dynasty?
Yeah, so, usually investors now, because we're venture capital funded, we've raised about $7 billion. And I think nowadays venture capital investors are not very big on consumer companies. They like B2B companies. It's easier to get traction. Consumer businesses are very hard, very expensive. How do you get mass market consumers to use your product? And so I think for me, my background primarily was in the B2B space. Very good at going and closing the largest businesses and getting them to use my software. But on an individual standpoint, I had to learn a brand new skill set from scratch. And so to me, that was been by far the biggest challenge.
Right. And why Nevada? What are the benefits of building a trust in Nevada?
It has the best laws in the country when it comes to asset protection and taxes. So the billionaires have their money in Nevada, and everybody else should be able to do that as well. But usually a Nevada trust is going to cost $20,000 to $40,000 to create. Plus, it's going to cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year just for annual trustee fees. Because you need in order to benefit from a Nevada trust, you need a Nevada trustee. That's expensive. So that's what, we decided that not only do we want to make this process simpler, but we want to make it significantly more affordable. We want to make it possible for, the small business owner in Oklahoma to use this product, right? We want to make Nevada trust services available to anyone. And so that, the more we learned about Nevada trust, the more we realized that this was exactly what needs to be democratized.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I haven't heard about Nevada Trust until I saw your product. So it's very interesting. I think it's a very interesting product.
Yeah, asset protection is like, people get sued, people go bankrupt, people get divorced. If anything like that happens to you, if you have no trust or you have a regular trust, for example, if you're in California, you have a California trust, all your money is at risk. Your assets are at risk. California trust offers zero asset protection. But when it comes to Nevada, it's almost like having your assets in Switzerland. Like they cannot be accessed. Nevada law is very, very strong when it comes to lawsuits and creditors and divorce.
Right. Interesting. And then once the Nevada trust is created, how do you transfer the assets to
Every asset's different. For example, if it's your investment account, you go to your bank and you tell them, hey, I have a trust. I need to put my account in my trust, and they help you do that.
Right.
Same thing with life insurance. Same thing with founder stock, like startup shares. Then you just go to whoever's handling your cap table, whoever manages your cap table, your law firm or your lawyer or whoever. You tell them that you want to move your shares into your trust, and they can process that transfer for you as well. If it's real estate, that's the only situation where it's a little bit more complicated because we have to do it with the county recorder's office. But yeah, the home goes from your name to the trust.
Right. Right. I've seen people that builds, LLCs to manage the real estate, right? So would it make sense would there be any benefit of having an LLC and then transfer the
Absolutely.
ownership to a trust?
That's right. The best structure is you have a Nevada trust that owns one asset, which is a Wyoming LLC. And then everything you want to put in the trust, you put in the LLC. And then the LLC is owned by the trust. And that gives you asset protection and it gives you control. Because even though you're giving the trust away, you're not the trustee, you can be the operating manager of the LLC. So it gives you full control of the assets.
Right. Right. So what are the limitations of a trust? You mentioned one that it's control, right? So when you put it in the trust, you have more limited control, right?
Yeah. Control, potentially, depending on how you set it up, access as well. Control and access, that's what it comes down to. It depends on what you set up, right? Because you can make it so, there's benefits, like, you can get significant tax benefits, right? So for startup founders like me, are you aware of qualified small business stock?
No, I'm not.
QSBS means that anybody who has shares in a qualified small business, which is like any technology company, any technology startup, as long as they meet certain criteria, you get up to $10 million in tax-free capital gains. Well, the successful startups, the founder might be worth more than that, maybe $20 million, $30 million, $40 million. You can set up trusts and you can separate your ownership, and each trust will have its own $10 million tax exemption. So there are examples of people who sold their startup and cashed out $100 million and paid zero taxes.
Interesting, because the profit, it's not a taxable event because it's within the trust.
It's within the trust and it's connected to qualified small business stock. Each trust is its own separate entity. Each trust has its own QSBS, qualified small business stock tax exemption.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. So if you're planning to sell your company, you should do an exit, you should put your stocks in a trust, basically.
That's right.
Well, in your trust, in your company's trust.
Yeah, not a regular trust. It has to be a specific type of trust. So yeah.
So what metrics are you using to track, the success of Dynasty? What are you trying to achieve?
Revenue, straight up revenue. That's to us the most important thing. And
Right.
that's our North Star. But the things that go into that, we look at how much website traffic we get, how many people we get to create an account, how many people we get to, get to the payment page, how many people we get to actually pay. So it gets a funnel. We have to look at it from that perspective, but the overarching North Star is...
Right. So you have a single fee and the recurring fees for managing the trust?
It depends which type of trust you set up, but we can do the Nevada trust. We don't do any trust creation fee. We'll create the trust for free. We just charge, in order to benefit from a Nevada trust, you need a Nevada trustee. If you don't live in Nevada, you need somebody living in Nevada who's your trustee. That's how you get asset protection. That's how you get access to better tax rules in Nevada. And so we do that starting at $500 per year.
Oh, interesting. That is a very low cost for finding a trustee.
That's right. That's our business.
So you're working towards building recurring revenue, basically.
100%.
Amazing.
That's the problem with most companies in our space is they're more focused on trust creation, one-time revenue, and we don't think that is a good business model.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work long-term.
Yep, that's right. It's not as interesting from a venture capital standpoint.
Right. So with recurring revenue, you were able to go to VCs. What stage are you on the VC path? Have you raised money already?
Yeah, we've raised over $7 million.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I went to VC summit 2 weeks ago here in San Francisco, and There were a lot of very promising startups, but there were a lot of rejections.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Venture capital is not it's not easy to raise money. You got to have a good story, you got to have good traction.
Right. Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your experience at Carta. I know a few people from Carta. I know Javier Lopez. He did a few talks on Plateau and LiveDev and other engineering conferences. In the last few years, I saw him there.
I don't know who is that.
He's currently the VP of engineering at Carta.
Okay, nice. Yeah. I left a few years ago, so I didn't probably never met him.
He had good talks, right? So that's how I know of him. Yeah. So you mentioned that you were the first salesperson and then that you scaled the team to 200 people on the sales team, right? That's very, very impressive. What were your biggest challenges scaling that team?
Hiring is you can't spend enough time with people. You're never gonna know if they're actually gonna work out or not. And so I think most in the beginning we tried to be very calculated with the people that we hired. Still, a small, anywhere from 25 to 50% of people just don't end up working out. Especially in the beginning, you need to be decisive. You can't just have people in that are not moving the needle. Everybody has to move the needle. It was very important for us to learn that it's better to make decisions fast. When you're hiring people and when you're deciding who to let go, hire fast, fire fast. Very important. Because your company depends on it. Your company may not exist if you don't do that. And so I think that's a very important lesson. And then, number two, people management is a lot of work. And,
yes.
I think the most important thing you can do is hire really good people below you that manage the people below them. You're managing a lot of individual contributors is very hard. Managing 20 plus is a lot of work. Everybody wants time. Everybody wants you to be their therapist. It feels it's a lot of work. And so the most important thing you can do is hire really good lieutenants that can take that work off your plate. And so it's just hiring really, and it's kind of the same thing. You got to hire fast, fire fast. But you need to make sure that the people that you have are very strong. And you're not going to know that from interviewing them. You're not going to know. You're going to know after you've worked with them, in the beginning, the first 90 days. You have a pretty good sense of whether or not they're going to be somebody that's going to move the needle for you, or if they're going to be somebody that's going to need a lot of time and resources, right? Right away. And I think that first 90 days is so important. And to me, that's the most important thing as you're scaling a team is don't spend too much time hiring because you're not going to know how they're going to perform until they actually work. And then once they're actually working for you, don't spend too much time trying to help them. If they're not a good fit after 90 days, usually they're not going to be a good fit ever.
Yeah, the hiring is hard. Yeah. And I hired mostly software engineers, but lately I've been hiring salespeople, SDRs, account executives, and screening. It's a different, different set of skills that I need to screen those roles, right? I can take a lot of the lessons learned from the other roles, but mostly is a completely different game, right? Yeah. And I had good hires and bad hires. It's difficult. It is very difficult to detect the good hires. And eventually, what I learned is just how close can I make the screening as working with that person, because that way I can learn a lot about that person, right? That candidate. So yeah, and I've seen a lot of candidates that are really good on paper, but then when I start working with them, it's oh no.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, sometimes I miss they seem to be good, but then they start working and they're not delivering the results. As you mentioned, firing quickly when you see that, being able to make the decision quickly saves you a lot of headaches further down the road. Yeah. And the other thing I used to track with those teams is activities, for the SDRs meeting books, because if there are activities, then the meetings are going to happen eventually, right? So I can be a little bit more flexible on that area, but because there's the closer you get to further down the pipeline, the less it depends on the SDR. But eventually I started to measure like which SDR would help us close more deals, right? Even though it doesn't
Yep.
depend on them, but at the end of the day, I could see a discrepancy on the numbers. So I was saying, okay, this SDR is bringing higher quality deals than others. I don't know why, but that's the case, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and the end of the day, sales is great because it's very easily measured.
Right. Yeah. I mean, eventually it doesn't matter what happens inside, but we have specific outcomes and stages that we want to achieve. And what lessons did you learn from Carta were you able to implement on your new startup, right? On Dynasty.
So hiring is one. Another one would be, don't spend too much time building a product until you prove that you can get customers for it. I think that's the most important one. And you can spend a lot of time building a product and then take it to market and nobody will buy it and you wasted all that time. It's much better to take a product to market, try and sell it, and see if you can get people to pay money for it. If people pay money for it, then you figure out how to build it and deliver it. That's a good problem to have. And investors will invest in you if you have that problem. If you have like a bunch of people paying you money and you're not able to deliver, they'll pay you money to solve delivery. Delivery is easier. Sales is hard. So yeah, I think that's the most important one. Sell it before you build it.
Interesting. If you don't mind me asking, how were you able to do that with Dynasty? How were you able to prove that there was traction before a product was
Well,
built?
we're still working on it, right? And so we have these different trust structures, and some of them we don't have turned into software yet, right? And if we can put up a landing page, and we can put up a ability for people to pay for it, and the ability for people to call in and ask questions about it. And if people start buying it, then we'll automate it. But in the meantime, it's manual. Do things that don't scale, right? So
Right.
you figure out how to deliver manually, and if you can create volume, then we'll automate it. If we can't create volume, there's no point to build anything.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm doing something similar with my product, but I'm failing on your advice. So I should take your advice because what we're doing is we're doing recruiting and staffing, and I'm building a process to automate that process with AI interviewers. So we were able to do it pretty well with a people process, right? So the recruiter team, everybody's involved, but we spend 250 hours for every candidate that we present. So I want to automate that. So I'm building a platform to do that, but I haven't been able to prove traction on the platform yet. So I'll follow your advice.
Traction first.
Yes. You mentioned already on your website that you're using AI to build the trusts, right?
No, we use AI to create efficiencies under trust administration. When it comes to build, no, we don't use it to build the trust. We use it to help answer questions for people that have questions, and we use it to help automate the administration.
I see. To automate the workflows of the trustee, the
That's
tasks
right.
the trustee has to
That's
do.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That way, it allows you to scale the trustee and make it more efficient.
Yep. That's right.
Interesting. And what do you think the AI is uh, it's going to impact in the industry? It's been growing and growing, at a very fast pace.
Yeah, I think that it's going to disrupt everything. It's going to, every day more and more jobs are going to be automated, and companies are going to get more efficient and smaller. And if you're not thinking about it, like you're at risk. It's not a bubble; it's real. That's how I feel personally.
Right. I was at at a meetup at GitHub with Y Combinator, head of AI from Google, and big players, and basically they established that the Google Ads model is going to die because people will prefer to use a prompt rather than a search.
Yep, that's right.
And that disrupts that business model, but opens up so many other opportunities, right? Uh,
Yep,
and again, some people talk about, oh, that's going to die, but Google is adapting, so it's not like Google is going to die or the whole Google Ads is going to die. They're just going to provide a new a new way to do ads different than before.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. They got to
So
get more people using their AI, though. I guess a lot of people already are because they're slowly converting search to AI, is what it feels like.
yeah, I mean, I heard people talking about how can I show up on the prompt of open ChatGPT or whatever, because people are getting more and more leads from the LLMs now, right? When they check where the links come from, they're getting 30-40% from ChatGPT or similar.
Yep.
So that's going to be very interesting. Yeah. So on one side we have that, and then on the other side we have a lot of greenfield opportunities that were not possible before, right? And your product is one testament of that, right? Because it's not that it was not possible to do that before; it was just time consuming and eventually expensive. The using LLMs allows you to automate that process and make it more efficient, save people time, right, and reduce the cost for everybody. Yeah, that's very interesting. So they on that meetup, people were comparing it to the 2000s before the bubble burst, the dot-com bubble burst, because there were so many opportunities to explore, but we don't know which one are going to eventually become, something.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's going to be very interesting to see how it develops.
Yep. Yeah. There'd be a lot of businesses that will lose for sure. I mean, the winners, the ones that win will win big. It's gonna be, yeah. There's definitely gonna be a lot of businesses that don't make it. I mean, the problem is it's interesting because the models are all open source, so everybody's using the same tools, right? That's the interesting thing. And so I don't know what the difference is brand and go to market and user experience, right? Time will tell how it plays out, right?
Yes, yes, and then the other difference is that you can put guardrails around the LLM, so it could be smarter-ish, but also to reduce the hallucination, to reduce the unpredictability. So having those in places is what I think a lot of is going to be the differentiation between one product and the other, because it used to be a deterministic process, and now it's a non-deterministic process that adds a lot of unreliability. So how much can we trust on this process or this prompt? If I'm going to get different results all the time, how can we test that to make sure that it's accurate, right? That it's the expected outcome.
Yep.
I'm dealing with some of that because I have 8 years of interviews with candidates with the scoring and all that stuff. So I'm running the AI interviewers to analyze the videos and based on that give us a score. So I'm running blind tests. So I can run those and then compare with the human evaluator, right? Do we get the same results? Very disparate results. What is going on there, right? So that's what I'm working, because as we were talking about, is the unreliability. For me, that's my main concern, right? How much can I trust this process, right? And if it's going to go haywire, right? I'd rather know. So yeah, it's very interesting, exciting, but also concerning. Yeah. So if you have to give an advice, that someone wants to, get into a sales role, right? A younger self, if you like, right? What advice would you give them?
Don't. Today, I would tell them to go become an electrician. Sales is it's becoming harder and harder. Voice agents are getting good, really good. We use voice agents, right? And people don't want to be sold to. And so I think the most important thing is if you're going to do sales, pick a company that sells a product that you really believe in. Because if you really believe in the product, it's not going to be hard to sell it. That's the most important thing. But I don't know if it's a good career anymore to get into. If it's a type of sales that relies on human connection, the people buying from you want to go out to ball games and nice fancy dinners, and you're gonna need people to do that. If it requires human connection and relationships, then that's gonna always be around. But for the type of sales that exist today at most startup companies, it's just get your questions answered and decide if you want to buy the product, yes or no. Voice agents can do that.
And they can do it. It's hard to compete with a voice agent because the cost is much lower, right?
Yeah, they can be available 24/7.
Right. Right. And what advice would you give somebody that is looking to grow as a salesperson? Like going from an individual contributor to managing a team, right?
No, I think the most important thing is that you always need to be, you have two jobs, right? One job is managing down to your team, keeping them motivated, keeping them performing. But you also have to manage up to your manager and set the expectations of performance with your manager. Keep them in the loop of everything that you're doing. Get them on board. That way, if you're not doing good and you fail, like they own some of that accountability because you're working with them. I think that's equally as important. Managing up and managing down. It's 50-50. If you only manage down to your team and you don't manage up, your manager may not like you, may not want to promote you, may not want to retain you. They may think that you're just lucky and have a good team and they don't need you. So I think that managing up and managing down are equally important. Some people only manage up. I've seen that before, where they manage up to their boss and the boss loves them and they're not doing a good job with their team. That's also terrible because your team is going to complain about you and you're not going to be in that position very long. So you have two stakeholders and you have to do both.
Right. Right. Yeah. If you only manage up and then you neglect your team, then it's going to show up in the numbers. It's going to show up in the complaints, and you're not achieving the goal. Right.
That's right. You got to. It's not just about goals either. Goals are important, but there's going to be times when you're going to not be able to hit your goal, and you want your manager to be on board and to be supportive if that does happen. And there's going to be times when you're going to hit your goal, and those times no matter what, it's not just about your goal. Goal is part of it, but you need to have a good relationship with the people that work for you and the people that you work for.
Right. Right. Yeah, something similar happens when you build engineering teams. You need to manage down and manage up, but it's a different nature. So it's more about building high quality software, balancing the how much time do you spend on increasing the quality, how much and how much details do I spend on making sure that it works as expected. Right. If I spend too much time, it could be the best, but if it's not working as expected, it's not working as expected, right? Yeah. Here's the dynamic is different because it's all about the metrics, the moving the sales forward, right? So if you're not hitting those metrics, then it is going to show up, and that's when the personal relationship can come into place, and you can get a little bit more flexibility if you have built up a good relationship, right?
Yep.
Because
That's right.
you can justify why that happened, right? And they're going to give you more. They're going to trust you more. Otherwise, they can use that to say, well, you're not meeting your goals, you're out. Yeah. But I love your advice of don't get into it.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were using voice agents, right? Can you tell me a little bit more about how is that working?
Yeah, so we have it right now on the homepage. When people want to talk to us, they talk to a voice agent first, and the voice agent can handle 90% of our customer support requests.
Nice.
I think it's very helpful, and it's getting better and better. So I think that voice is it's customer support, but also upsells, right? It can surface opportunities and ask them if they want to transfer to a human. I think it's a very powerful use case for voice AI, and it's only in its infancy. This is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better.
Yes, it's getting better and better every day, mostly. Yeah. I'm starting to work with the voice AI agents to build the AI interviewers to run the interviews for us.
Yeah,
And then we
it's
can
great.
score the answers based on the criteria. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that works, because the we haven't figured out yet like when it would make sense to switch to a human.
Yep.
But my hypothesis is that really good hires would not like, I mean, at least right now, would not like to be interviewed by an AI agent. They want to be interviewed by a human, right?
That's right.
How much are you, scaring away good candidates for automating the process, right?
Yep. Well, if you talk to the really good candidate and you say, like, listen, part of our process is to have you talk to the AI, you can kind of sell them on it first, right?
Right. Yeah. So we're working on that to see how that's going to work. We'll test the hypothesis soon. Great. So the last question that I have for you is, what are you planning to achieve with Dynasty in, the next following 12 months or so, right? Other than revenue, do you have other achievements that you want to accomplish?
We want to be a household name. We want to make it so that the richest people aren't the only ones benefiting from a Nevada trust. Like the average American who owns a home in Rhode Island can use the Nevada trust as well. So I think for us, like we're aiming to be a mass market trust company, a household name, and that's when you build a consumer business, that's the opportunity, and that's also the challenge. It's very difficult to do that, but swing for the fences.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that, from what I heard, the value proposition is really good. The price is really good. I think that you have a lot of, opportunities on the market for potential customers. And as you said, the challenge of B2C is completely different to B2B. So, that's the challenge, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But from what I understand is once you build the brand, once the more you build the brand, the easier it gets to do the next sale. So it's
It compounds, yeah.
it compounds. Yes, yes. I'm very interesting to see how you guys go forward, right? So I'm going to follow your path, what you guys are doing. So thank you very much, Alessandro, for joining us today, and I'll put on the episode notes the link to your website so people can go and sign up.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you.